TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Central Texas Life. I'm Ann Harder, and this is a magical season of music. Yes, the 2022-2023 Symphony concert season is upon us, and joining me now is Carol Bess, who's the Executive Director of the Waco Symphony. And it's a delight to have you. We've been talking about this visit for a long time.
And I know it. So glad.
And this is not your first time in the studio because you were a guest talking about the Charity Champions.
Right.
TFNB, your Bank for Life, has named the Symphony Association as one of their charity champions this year, and that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. We're honored and excited to be named a charity champion, and are just diving into that. So our featured game to be featured is the October 22nd homecoming game. Will be recognized on McLean Stadium Field, and just a 30-second video about the symphony's mission, and we're really inviting the community to come alongside us and partner with us on a big ask. In celebration of our 60th season, we're trying to raise $60,000 to support our education and outreach initiatives.
Well, it's wonderful. Of course, a effort that's near and dear to my heart. Full disclosure, I'm president of the board of directors
Right.
this year, and have learned so much really in a short period of time about the inner workings of the symphony and just how much goes into maintaining this amazing gem. We're always referred to as a gem in Central Texas, but how many cities our size, that don't have an amazing symphony orchestra like the Waco Symphony.
Right. We are so fortunate to have the quality symphony that we do, and it is amazing. Like you said, there's so much that goes into really getting these 80-plus musicians on stage together, and especially that was a challenge during COVID to keep them all safe and creating music. And so coming out of that, it's been an interesting year.
Well, it's been in a lot of ways. And, of course, it was an interesting year for me when you were hired.
Yeah.
Because the stiletto heels you are filling belong to Susan Taylor-Hyde, she was there for,
44 years.
44 years.
I know. Big
So you
shoes
can
to fill.
imagine, how the continuity that she brought to
Yes.
the job.
Right.
And yet, you came from kind of a different line of work. Let's talk a little bit about you, Carolyn.
Sure.
You grew up in Waco, though, right?
I did, from age 3 through high school.
So you're really coming home.
Coming home in a way, and it's wonderful. I really felt that tug back to Waco about a year ago.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm so glad to be here.
We are thrilled that you made that choice, and it was an interesting process for me to be involved in a hiring process. I've never really done that before, and especially for a nonprofit organization that the Symphony Association is, and so many really outstanding candidates that were there for the job. And so you came to us, though, from Dallas. So tell us about what you were doing in Dallas before you came to Waco.
Yeah, so I was fortunate for 25 years to work at the Dallas Museum of Art as an art educator. I was in charge of adult education programs for 5 or 6 years. And then I was the director of a literary and performing arts series called Arts and Letters Live at the Dallas Museum of Art. So bringing in award-winning authors, actors, musicians, dancers, and really trying to combine the arts in creative ways.
Well, and that experience that you had certainly served us well last year. Since this is all done. We can talk about some of the challenges that you've had. Your first year, I always said, I mean, poor Carolyn, she came into a buzzsaw when she came, because what people don't know is all the kind of the drama behind the scenes and just how much intense work there is to deal with agents of some of these, musicians that have their people, they'll contact your people, which is you. And so, and how much was involved. And you really kind of at the last second were able to make lemonade out of what, was lemons. Tell them about
my third day on the job. A long scheduled concert with America that had been, canceled and rescheduled and canceled and rescheduled. And
yes, due to COVID.
Pushed, rescheduled several times due to COVID. Ultimately, they called and said, I'm so sorry. We are having to cancel outright.
I know. Horse with no name. I was looking forward to hearing that.
Instead of really, easing into the job and focusing on training, we went into crisis mode. So
yeah, really were.
That really, in terms of making lemonade out of lemons, I proposed both to Maestro Hyde and our artistic advisory committee that we bring Lyle Levitt and his acoustic group, and the committee thought, well, that's a wonderful opportunity. It's an artist that I had hoped to work with and tried to secure in Dallas, and the timing wasn't right. But I was just so
because he's kind
thrilled.
Of a poet when you think about it.
He's such an amazing songwriter.
Yeah, right.
So I really wanted him to, have admired his songwriting and performing abilities, and wanted to really have him talk about that creative process. So I was so thrilled that we were able to bring him to Waco, and
it was a huge success.
Huge success, wonderful audience development opportunity in a way.
Yeah, we saw. Somebody said, I saw a lot more big old belt buckles and
cowboy hats
than they'd seen in a long time in a symphony concert.
It was great, and people that I think hadn't maybe been to one of our concerts in a year. So it was a wonderful way to experience the symphony in a different way.
Has to happen.
Yeah.
It has to happen. And of course, then our Pops, what's considered a Pops concert, was going to be a lot of movie music, which people love. They love that for Pops concerts. Yeah. But our featured person canceled kind of at the last minute.
Right. Yes, and so we had
that left you in crisis mode yet again.
Again.
You gotta get used to living on that level of adrenaline, right?
That's right.
Don't want to get used to that,
right? But then really we're in the wake of that, we're fortunate to bring both a film critic, an Emmy award-winning film critic, to talk about the featured music selections, Gary Cogill,
which was wonderful,
who made his name in Dallas as an amazing critic and
did you know him personally before?
I had met him. Yes, didn't know him well, but we knew each other. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, what actor could replace this one who canceled, and who would have a similar audience appeal? And so Sean Astin, who is known for the Goonies and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I thought he would have a very similar appeal. And the combination of the two of them on stage was really wonderful.
It was magical.
It was.
I mean, it really was. And I've talked to more people who said, as soon as I saw that he was coming, and then they came for Sean Astin.
Yes, and we really only had about 2 weeks after Sean Astin signed his contract.
Yeah, that was another.
It was another little hitch. He committed, in mid-March, but he didn't sign his contract until 10 days prior to the concert.
So you couldn't really for
10
sure.
days of marketing exposure.
We think he's coming.
Thankfully, people really did respond.
Yes, they did.
And tickets, skyrocket at that point. So we were pleased.
It ended up being a season that we had a lot of question marks about, because after COVID, and we have a lot of the concert goers that are older,
sure,
and are worried about being in crowds, and that's perfectly understandable. And we all kind of wondered, what will it be like? What will attendance be like? And we ended up on a positive note,
absolutely,
shall we say. And it could have been in the whole
trajectory, through the, started out a little slower in the fall, but by the time, in December, there was that little break between right before Omicron hit. And so our Nutcracker performance was nearly sold out.
It was fabulous.
It was amazing. And then it really gained steam, again, throughout the spring after January.
I think it showed that there was a hunger to get back to that kind of thing.
Well,
and folks were ready to.
The joy of, that's one of the things that I missed most during the pandemic was experiencing live music. But it can bring such joy to people. So,
well, so many things that the symphony is well known for. Just to kind of explain how the workings of it. I mean, you do have to raise money.
Yes.
For it, because those musicians, they want to be paid.
That's right.
Funny how that works. And
there are a lot of them.
And the guest and there are a lot of them. And the guest artists. I mean, that was what was stunning to me, is just how much money some of these folks get. I mean,
right.
But then you can still kind of negotiate with their people, and have maybe got a little better
sometimes
deals.
Better than others.
Sometimes
but
better
yes,
than others.
Yes.
But it's really remarkable, and I can have a wish list of people I want to hear, and yet there's the reality of, can we afford to bring them?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I'm so thankful about in terms of being back in Waco, is that this community really rallies to support its orchestra and the arts here locally, and it wouldn't be possible without individuals and corporations, businesses.
Right, our businesses,
yeah. So,
yeah. Well, of course, as you mentioned, this is our 60th anniversary, and for number one, a symphony, of our size, there were many of our size that did not survive the pandemic. And there are some even bigger ones that I'm learning that have folded for whatever reason. Right. So it you can kind of be on a bubble, but there's such a hunger for fine music.
Right.
And that's really rewarding to know that is the case here.
Absolutely.
One of the other things that we're doing this year is we have the bittersweet task of replacing Maestro Stephen Hyde.
That's right. After 35 years on our podium.
I think he's seeing so much fun his wife is having in retirement.
Yes.
Susan,
he's feeling that tug.
He's feeling that tug, and I get that. I mean, I retire. I mean, it's fun. It's great. But man, this is a big deal for the symphony.
It is. And and one of the reasons that our orchestra is as strong as it is because of what he has created in such a long tenure. I mean, he really has focused on hiring musicians, many of them who live in and around the Central Texas community, which is important because in the early years, a lot of musicians were imported from Dallas and Austin and farther away, and it was kind of like the bus pulled up to Waco Hall, and in large measure, it wasn't more of a resident orchestra based here in the community. So he's really focused on hiring many musicians that are reflective of our community here. We still certainly have some who travel in as well. But he's, we also have Baylor music students who audition and are paid to perform as part of the orchestra, and what an amazing career-building experience that they have, often sitting side by side with their professors.
With their professor.
And playing the same music and really getting firsthand experience of what it's like to be in a professional orchestra.
Right.
So
well, and of course the beauty of the Waco Symphony Orchestra is because its two maestros over its 60-year history have also been on staff at Baylor over the orchestral studies at Baylor University. That collaboration and that partnership and that frankly that benefit to the Waco Symphony, I don't think we can put a number to it, but I think we're going to figure that out.
It's an important relationship that has so much synergy.
And that will continue.
It will continue. Absolutely. Dean Gary Mortensen is committed to seeing that relationship stay strong.
Yeah.
And that's great. We share a lot of music together.
Sure. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, that you got to buy or rent, or you got to pay some money. All those little music stands that are out there.
Right.
Yeah, and they may be sharing, the two violins may be sharing one, but
right.
Still, that's a big budgetary item that people don't think about.
Yeah.
So it's really important to continue that wonderful bond with Baylor University. It is an exciting time. There's going to be some big changes ahead, and when we come back, we're going to take a brief break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about this upcoming season, the magic of music. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Sarah.
And I'm Carter.
And this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and vinyl. So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
And I'm back with Carol Bess, who's the Executive Director of the Waco Symphony Association. And it's really an exciting season, your second full season
Right.
at the helm of the symphony. And I personally love this theme this year that Maestro Hyde, I think he
Yes,
was one that
he
came
chose
up with
it.
this. It's
Absolutely.
called The Magic of Music. And each of our concerts, and there will be 5 this season, will have something to do with magic. And what will be magical is the fact that Stephen Hyde will be conducting 2 of them, correct?
Yes, he will conduct the first 2 concerts this fall. So we'll kick it off September 29th with Gil Shaham and Bode Magic, or Gil is one of the most acclaimed violinists in the world and has an amazing story himself. He debuted at age 10 with the Jerusalem Symphony and the Israel Philharmonic, and then studied at Juilliard in Columbia and performs on stages around the world. So he's a Grammy Award winner, an Avery Fisher Prize winner, which is kind of the gold standard in the classical music world. So we're thrilled to bring him to Waco. And
Yeah, he's married to a violinist,
he
I
is.
understand.
He is.
Do we want to talk about what they play?
In terms of the repertoire,
No, in terms of their instrument.
in terms of their instrument, he plays on a very special. He has several violins, one of which is a Stradivarius. So, and when the Boston Globe talks about him, they say, in a world full of outstanding violinists, Shaham stands out for his style and his sound. So I really am excited to hear him.
Well, I have found if you've got Amazon Music and Alexa, I just tell her to play Gil Shaham music, and I hear fabulous violin music from can to cane. I mean, he has recorded a lot of amazing music, and
Right.
I'm so looking forward to hearing him perform. Of course, he was somebody that was kind of in the pipeline to perform in Waco before
right
COVID.
before COVID. So it was one of those interruptions that we're glad that could get him back.
Right. Okay, so that's the first one, and then
That's right.
the next one's November
10th with Jeremy Dank, who
Okay,
is
tell
a
me about him.
pianist, and he is also an Avery Fisher Prize winner. He is also a MacArthur Genius Fellow, which Jeremy went to Oberlin, among other schools, and was an English major. He's also an amazing writer. And
That's
so
what's neat.
Not only is he just a phenomenal pianist, but I'm excited that we're adding sort of a special twist to his appearance here the night prior to his concert. At 5:30, we'll host him in Roxy Grove Hall for a talk about his New York Times bestselling memoir, which is called Every Good Boy Does Fine, a love story in music lessons. And it's this beautiful personal story about him, being inspired by music over the years. You get an in-depth look at really what it takes to become, practice makes perfect, a classical pianist, and what his relationships were like with his teachers. He talks in such beautiful ways and metaphorical ways about the composers and the pieces of music that have inspired him over the years, what they've meant to him. And it really, you want to have a Spotify playlist handy when you're reading the book, because it's
right.
fabulous.
Oh, so it's sort of combining again your background
Yes.
at the Dallas Museum of Art and
Right.
the letters
Absolutely.
and the books and knowing the
Yeah.
authors,
I
and
think-
that's just a beautiful blending of your past as
Yeah,
well.
and I'm just excited that people will have that opportunity to really connect with him as a
Yeah.
person, and seem, that he's not just up on a pedestal or a stage, but you really
And often you
get
don't
to
hear
talk
them
with him.
talk.
You don't hear them
Now,
talk.
of course,
Right,
Lyle Lovett,
so-
yes, we
yes.
heard. He was charming, so much
I
fun.
think people will really get to know Jeremy, and they'll get to have their books signed and
That's cool.
meet him personally, which will be great.
Really looking forward to that, and that's in early part of November.
Right,
Of course,
November 9
the
and 10.
Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker, backed by popular demand, Ballet Frontier, which is a professional dance company based in Fort Worth. We've partnered with them over a couple of years, prior to and after COVID. And it's just such a holiday classic, and I think it evokes that childlike wonder in all of us.
Well,
and
it's so
I
wonderful.
grew up going to,
Oh, yeah.
my aunt played the clarinet in the
Oh, did
Houston
she?
Symphony.
The Houston
and so
Symphony.
I went every year down, during the holidays
for
to
Nutcracker.
hear her play and the Nutcracker. And it's just such a cherished memory for me. So I'm so glad that Waco, has almost an annual tradition of bringing the Nutcracker here. So you don't have to drive to Dallas or Austin to see a quality production of the Nutcracker. And it's a wonderful experience, too, for we just had auditions for local student
yes.
dancers so nearly 50 or so student dancers
And what a
have
memory
the
they're making.
opportunity
Yeah.
to dance on stage in this iconic production.
Yeah, I got to work backstage.
You did. You
Last-
helped me out.
and I
last
went to
year.
auditions
That's
last year.
right.
But yes, and to help, because some of them have fast costume changes, and it was
do.
really, it's like a machine back there. I'll tell you. But
Right.
it was so wonderful, and just the joy. Of course, again, we try to make a little money off of this, and
Yes.
so we always sell nutcrackers, right? That's
Yes,
still planning to happen.
Absolutely. We will have a Nutcracker store set up in the front of Waco Hall lobby.
What a great
with
little memento. of
amazing
being
and unique, uniquely styled Nutcrackers, as well as we'll have ornaments this year, too.
Oh, cool. Very good. All right. And so Stephen will not be conducting this because he will be
Stephen's final
officially
concert will be
retired.
Stephen's final concert is in November.
Right.
And then we'll bring in a guest conductor, Clay Couturier, who is the music conductor of the Richardson Symphony, to guest conduct Nutcracker.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll bring in another conductor in April. But we are, right now in the midst of searching for Stephen's replacement and really seeking someone who will be the next, head us into the next chapter.
Correct.
Of the
Will be
symphony's
only the
exciting
third
history. The
music
third
director,
music
conductor of the Waco Symphony.
Yes.
Um,
And we've had over 100 applications.
Isn't that amazing?
I'm just stunned by the talent of these applicants. And they come from, all over the country and even internationally,
Yes.
too. So the future is bright, and we have wonderful possibilities to explore.
Well, I've been privileged to be a part of this
Right.
process and have gotten to hear the interviews and get to know a little bit more about the world of professional conducting. And it really sort of is the business model that these individuals fly all over, and they may have multiple symphonies that they take care of. And so
Yes.
that's what our model will be, more than likely.
More than likely.
Yeah. So
We'll
unless
wait and
whoever it is
see.
just falls in love
We'll
with
wait and
Waco
see.
and
They
decides,
might.
I got to live in Waco.
I think
And that could happen.
That could happen. It could happen.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, they have kind of most of them have a day job,
Right.
if you will, at a university or, just different. And some of them, that is just what they do. They sort of, itinerant conductors, because there are always symphonies, I guess, looking for guest conductors. And
Right.
so anyway, it's been fascinating, but it's been so wonderful to hear the ideas they have in their experience with different symphonies, literally all over the world, and some great ideas that I've gleaned just from
No.
listening to them talk.
Great to get ideas and to dream about, how we can move things in exciting new directions in the future. And
So the plan is to have one of our candidates
that's right.
conduct
January and March concerts.
coming up, and
Yes,
the
and
January
then-
concert is
I'm really excited about that one. That one is themed a magical evening in the American West, and the composer Ferd Groffet, his piece Grand Canyon Suite.
Oh, yeah.
is
I
the
grew up listening to that,
feature
yeah.
of that evening, and I went down to the Austin Symphony earlier this year. I saw that they had programmed that piece of music and noticed that they were collaborating with a photographer and multimedia artist named Nicholas Bardnay, who spent more than 2 months in the Grand Canyon taking hundreds of photos. And he has this music in his head. I mean, he has memorized it, and
I'm
he
sure.
live choreographs the transitions of his photographs with the music, and
That
it's
is just
and we hang 3 huge screens above the orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just this amazingly immersive experience that'll marry art and music together in a creative way, and
Love it.
and that I hope our audiences it'll just sort of transport you right there to the Grand Canyon. So we will let the music director candidate, the finalist, choose the rest of the repertoire for the evening,
but
so that they
Grand
have an
Canyon
opportunity-
Suite is
but
set
that is
in
set.
stone.
That is set,
If you will.
Then, and then another finalist will bring in March for an evening themed around orchestral magic, and then we'll bring 2 additional finalists next fall.
It's really going to be an exciting time. And it's important because then our symphony players will have an opportunity to work
Very closely
with these
So
individuals.
I think these finalists will be here for the better part of a week.
We'll get
They'll
a chance
have
to really get to
4,
know them.
You know,
and-
we have 4 rehearsals and a concert, so they will have 5 days in which really to get to know each other personally and musically, and see a concert come together.
those are going to be great fun. And then our Pops concert.
Yes, I'm really excited.
I
about
know.
Broadway Magic, featuring the Tony Award winner Kelly O'Hara, who is one of Broadway's leading ladies right now. She won the Tony Award for portraying Anna Leonowens in The King and I. She's been in South Pacific and Kiss Me Kate and The Light in the Piazza. So many shows. She's appeared on the Met stage in an operatic capacity opposite Renee Fleming twice. She'll be back on their stage this fall.
So she's classically trained, obviously.
Classically trained. I think she grew up in Oklahoma, so she's no stranger to this area.
Yeah, she might have some Oklahomans come.
That's
to-
right.
Yeah, because I mean, I think again, Lyle Lovett. He had a lot of friends that just came to see him.
And Kelly is really becoming known for her television work as well.
That's right. She's on an HBO series.
Yes,
right?
the series. It's going into season 2, The Gilded Age.
Yeah.
So very popular show right now. So, and she will not only sing but sort of tell stories in between about those songs. So a lot of iconic songs that we're all familiar with, but from her repertoire.
Yeah, so much more for the audience member than just hearing her sing, which would be plenty.
Right.
Which would be wonderful. Well, you mentioned about the art and the immersive experience, and I have to put a plug in and talk about the work of the Waco Symphony Council,
Yes.
which for 75 years, now coming on 76,
Wow.
has hosted the children's concert series. And I've been involved with it for easily more than 20 years as their narrator. And it is the joy of my year, honestly, to be there when those buses pull up and through the course of the day, 6,000 area school kids come to hear, many of them for the first time, to be on the Baylor campus,
Right.
to walk inside the majestic Waco Hall, and then to hear that first sound from a live orchestra, and they literally will jump in their seats. I just love
It's
it.
a thrill.
It's a thrill.
Is. And
Every
I
year for
grew
me.
up, and I
came
as
when I was
a
in the fourth
and fifth
grade.
grader.
It was a big deal to get to go to.
And mine was very memorable because we rode out a tornado in Waco Hall that
That's
day.
right. You had the tornado
It was
drill.
wild. We had the alarms and the sirens and the music.
Oh my goodness! Well, it's really it's memorable. Hopefully, will be not for that
memorable.
not for that reason with these kids, but yeah, the impact on these young minds and lives of hearing that live music, just it can't even be
It can't be
quantified.
replaced.
I don't even
No,
think it can
no.
be.
Yeah.
And many people
And
on our
for-
board, like me, I remember when I was in the fourth grade and,
That's
went
right.
to,
And
and
it
it kind of
was-
plants that seed.
It does. And I think back to when I experienced that, and it was shortly thereafter that I decided I wanted to learn to play the flute and
Yes.
started playing the flute in the 5th grade. So it's that age is right around the time when students may be choosing an instrument, to play in a middle school band or orchestra, and so it really can have that spark. And another way that the symphony sort of connects with other schools locally is
Sure.
that we provide some instruments
Mhm.
to students in 2 schools within WISD.
Well, and that's something
And-
remarkable. I know the Tennyson
Yes, Tennyson's-
classical music program has just exploded.
Yes, and we're excited to see, everything, including, this initiative for us, and then the bands and orchestras went on pause during the pandemic. So I think they're in that rebuilding mode, but it's exciting to hear stories about them
Mm-hmm. How
roaring
many,
back to life.
how many
and-
students? And of course, the youth orchestra is another
Yes,
outreach.
it's a signature. Well, it's a signature program. So the Waco Symphony Youth Orchestra. We're so fortunate to have. So we have nearly 50 8th through 12th graders from all over Central Texas this year. I think they come from 7 different schools,
Wow.
as well as some being homeschooled, and who have the opportunity to rehearse and perform together under the amazing guidance of Dr. Bo Benson.
Yeah.
Who's the director of the Midway High School Orchestras.
Just a wonderful opportunity for young people, and I'm thrilled that it is the children's concert, at least after a 2-year hiatus, is happening again.
In person
and those
again.
kids will be back at Waco Hall.
Yeah.
And the date of that is
November 15th.
November 15th. It's on
Right.
my calendar.
Yeah.
For sure. As I've told people, I said I will crawl over broken glass to be there.
there.
In fact, I literally went after breaking my wrist the week before, but I had a sling. I went,
Wow.
I'm
Not
missing.
missing.
I'm not missing Children's Symphony. It means so much to me, and of course the Waco Symphony. What it means to the city of Waco, just can't even be put fairly into words.
Right.
I want to thank you so much, Carolyn, for being with us and
Oh,
for
it's my pleasure.
sharing your heart. There is something that I do at the end of these little chats. It's a little questionnaire similar to the one that the great James Lipton would do inside the Actors Studio. So this is my version of
Okay.
it. So here we go. What's your favorite word?
Grace, I would say, just because it reminds me of God's great gift for us and his favor towards us, and is a word that kind of reminds me of how I want to live in extending that graciousness back to other people on a daily basis. But
you do epitomize
I try,
that.
but
You
but
really
I know
do.
I also fall short.
Well, what is your least favorite word?
I would say poverty
Yeah.
comes to mind just because it's heartbreaking. And
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
we've talked a little bit about it, but it is that creative combination of art forms
Yeah,
coming
I know.
together,
Grand Canyon
and
Suite.
watching audiences or have an aha moment as a
Mhm.
result of those things coming together in a way that they wouldn't perhaps if the art form was standing on its own. So that for me. And then about 5 years ago, to that end, but sort of I started making a part of my spiritual practice doing some Bible journaling in an artistic way. I bought a Bible that has a blank page opposite every text page.
Huh.
So it's been a way for me to focus my study of the word and my quiet time, but it helps me focus on a passage and then interpret it artistically. And maybe it's through watercolor. I love to do calligraphy and hand lettering and collage. So just interpreting a passage visually on the page has been sort of a neat experience for me.
Oh, that's neat. What turns you off spiritually or emotionally, creatively?
Well, I know that sort of I tend to shut down if I'm just too busy, if I just get caught up in the busyness of everyday life.
Yeah. What? Here we go. What sound do you love the most?
Oh, okay. So I'll stay on a musical tangent here, but I would say my favorite sounds of the orchestra are probably the oboe and the harp.
Yeah.
And I grew up singing in choirs and was in my university choir at Sewanee and had the great fortune of getting to go sing with the choir in some of England's greatest cathedrals. So it's just the chills.
Coventry? Did you go to Coventry?
We didn't go to Coventry,
Uh-huh.
but we went to Wells, Winchester, Salisbury, Gloucester, St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle,
Oh, wow.
and other amazing places.
Fun.
So choir voices reverberating in those
Yeah,
amazing
that's me.
architectural
Yeah.
spaces. It's really my jam.
Yeah, I love that too. What sound do you not like?
Oh, nails on a chalkboard.
There you go. I have heard that before as an example. Yeah. What other profession would you have liked to try?
Well, when I was younger, I had fleeting fantasies about being an Olympic ice skater or a competitive tennis player.
Okay.
I pursued both of those. Those were not destined to be.
Do you still play tennis?
I am very rusty. No. I got really good during high school and was the captain of the varsity tennis team
good.
at Vanguard.
And
but-
Vanguard's
but
always
I
had a
am-
really good
but
tennis
I'm
program.
really rusty, and I regret not keeping it up. But
Well, I need to get you back
maybe
out on the court.
We will play.
We need to do that. I pick you as my partner then. I play doubles. So the singles,
right, that's
singles
good for me
days are in
too.
the rearview mirror for sure. Well, what job do you know you would not want to do? I have
I
a
don't
feeling it
think-
might have been the one you had last year. I was so living in fear.
I would say I would be a terrible potter because, and ironically, my mother is an amazing potter.
Really?
But she thought I was going to fail kindergarten because I only would finger paint with one finger. So anything that if my hands have to get messy or is not a good combo.
Not your
so I
thing.
could not be a potter.
All right. Well, finally, what do you want to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh goodness. Welcome home, my child. Leave your perfectionism and your worries at the gates and rest in my peace.
A good word. So the final word is, how can folks get season tickets to the Waco Symphony? No, really, they
sure.
still can.
They can, and
so, or you can buy individual
visit-
tickets to
that's
the
right.
to the
Either-
shows.
either
So
way.
what's the best way to do that?
Is really to go on our website at wacosymphony.com
Pretty
for
simple.
more details and ticket links as well.
All right.
And you can follow us on social media too, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Right. Very good. And we'll see you again soon, you and I, for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been a delight to have you, Carolyn. Thank you so much for spending some time because I know you have a
you.
lot on your plate.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.